Hey everyone, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2017 Volkswagen Golf Alltrack, we're going to be showing you how to install the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver. Before we get into that though, let's just take a minute and we'll check this one out and make sure it's going to be the right hitch for you. So for those of you looking to use hitch-mounted accessories or even pull a small trailer around, having a trailer hitch back here is going to make all those things doable, right? It's going to give you that attachment point that you need. And with this hitch, it's probably my favorite one that is available for the Golf Alltrack. And I say that really for one big reason, and that is because this particular hitch is going to have the 2" by 2" opening, compared to some of the other ones that have the smaller 1¼ by 1¼ opening. So with this 2" one, it's just a lot more versatile, and a lot more accessories are going to be compatible with it. I think the hitch is going to look good too. For the most part, it's going to be completely hidden, all behind your fascia, and really the only thing you'll be able to see is the receiver tube opening here, so it kind of puts off a factory type option. The hitch is going to use the standard 5/8 pin and clip. Keep in mind though, one doesn't come included with the hitch. If you need one, not a big deal, get it here at eTrailer. A lot of times too, accessories that you end up picking up will come with one, so something to look out for there. And for the safety chain openings, they are on the smaller side, but they're easy to get to and still should provide us with enough space to allow us to use pretty much any size hook that a trailer might have on it. The EcoHitch is also going to give us a little bit higher weight capacities over some of the other hitches available, in particular the tongue weight rating. So what that tongue weight rating is, that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. And with this one, the rating is 300 pounds. That's a pretty good number. You should be able to use as 1 to 4 bike racks, just to give you an example there. And for the maximum gross trailer weight rating, that's going to be 2,000 pounds. That's the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So that will be the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have in or on it. And with all that said, I do always like to recommend, always a good idea just to grab your Volkswagen's owner's manual. That way you can check in there and make sure that your vehicle can handle that amount of weight safely. We'll grab a couple measurements now, and these will help us figure out what type of accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, taking into account the lift that we're parked on here, that's going to be about 16½ inches, which is pretty good. If you're pulling a trailer around, you could probably use a ball mount that has a straight shank, maybe even a slight rise in most situations. And for those of you using accessories, I feel like if it has a straight shank, you'd be fine, more than enough ground clearance. If you got one that has a rise in it, even better. Definitely not going to hurt to have more space, right? And if we go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's only going to be about 3 inches, which is really good. So you shouldn't run into too many issues here, but if need be, you can use that to help figure out exactly if any of those folding type accessories can be stored upright without hitting the back of your Volkswagen. Other than that, good all-around hitch. Like I said, if it were me, this would be the one that I would go with. Having that 2" by 2" opening and that little bit higher tongue weight capacity, it's going to be the most versatile. And being the fact too that all the hitches are going to install fairly similar, if you're going through the trouble to put it on, you might as well be able to have your options opened up as far as what you can do with the trailer hitch. Speaking of the installation though, it really wasn't too bad. It was definitely a little time consuming. You do have to remove the rear fascia and you will have to cut out a small opening for the hitch to kind of pass through and everything, but take your time, should be in good shape. I'll show you a couple things along the way that can hopefully speed the process up for you and make it a little bit easier. And if this is something that you don't even want to mess with, you can understand, you can always use our dealer locator network, and hopefully that can help you find a shop in your neighborhood that can do something like this for you. But if you're going to give it a go, hang around, we'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be underneath the back of our Volkswagen, and here in the middle, we're going to have 2 fasteners that we can remove. They're going to be a T15, and I like to do these by hand because they are plastic. So we'll pull that portion out. And then a lot of times the base will get stuck in there. And if that happens, you can just take a little screwdriver or something and pop it right out. And I'll do the same thing for this one here. We can now focus on each individual side of our vehicle, and from this point on, whatever we do to one side, we'll also do to the other side. We set up the same way. So over here in the corner, we're going to have another one of those plastic T15 fasteners. Get this removed. And then if you continue to follow this edge towards the front, we're going to have another one right here. This one, though, will be a T25 Torx bit. Now you can move to your wheel wells, and along the back edge, there's going to be several T25 Torx bit screws that we can remove. Some vehicles, it'll be a T20, just kind of depends, you'll have to check. But we'll have one right there. They're kind of tight for sure. It's all right though. That's what it looks like. And we'll just continue to work our way down. In our case, I think we'll have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total. We do have mud flaps on our car, so yours might be, have an extra one or one less. We'll just feel our way around and kind of go from there. It looks like these last 3 are going to be kind of tucked in here, more towards the bottom. Once you have all those loose, though, you can kind of take your fender liner here and just peel that back and out of the way, and that'll expose a fastener right up in here in this area. The head of it's on the bottom, so it's getting screwed upward. And with this one, that's a T25 as well. You kind of just have to go off feel more or less. But you want to get that removed too. We can get our taillights unplugged and get them removed as well. And so what you want to do is open up the rear hatch, and then on the sides you'll have these little panels, right? Oh, kind of loose, but they just pop right out. And getting them unplugged, that's the connector that we're looking for right there. To get that connector undone, you can very carefully take a flathead screwdriver, just pry back on that red tab. Then you can push down on the little black tab there in the middle, and that will allow it to release. But there's just this plastic fastener here. You can just turn that by hand usually, but there is a allotment in it if you need a screwdriver or something to help it break free. So these will just unscrew. So that was the only thing holding the tail light in. Should be able to just kind of work it off from the vehicle. We'll set this off to the side for now. We're ready to actually get our fascia off now. And so what I've done, I just put some painter's tape here along where we're going to be working. That way we don't accidentally scratch anything. And quick pointer too, sometimes what I like to do, especially if the car is kind of dirty, or clean for that matter, you can take some soapy water and spray it kind of in the crack where we're going to be working and let it sit for a minute. That'll kind of help break down some of the dirt and grime and stuff in there, and usually makes it easier to pop the fascia off here. But you want to start kind of down here in this area, and there's this little tab. We'll pull up on it. That way this can actually move around. And then we'll start here in the corner. And this is just held in place with some clips. This one's actually coming apart pretty good. Sometimes what can happen is the little tabs in there will get hung up on the fascia, and what you might need to do is kind of put outward pressure on the fascia, take a little screwdriver or something, and gently push down on the tab while you're pulling out, and that'll usually get them to release. Like I said, ours come apart pretty good. So that soapy water usually goes a long way. Then we'll get up to this corner and start to work our way around our taillight. Part here seems to be a little bit tighter, but we can give you a good example of what I was talking about, kind of pushing those clips down while you're pulling out here. And then I'm going to get to about this point. I really don't want to go any further. I'll do the other side the same way, and then we can get someone to help us get this piece removed. So with the help from Ian here, we can get this removed, and it's pretty tight. So it feels like there's clips here in the middle, and just kind of gently, working it back and forth like that, it popped them free. You can spray your soap water in that opening too if you want. And it looks like over here on my side, we're gonna have an electrical connector that we need to disconnect. So it's this one here. And with these, kind of an odd setup here, but it looks like with these style, kind of come in from this way and carefully pry up. That'll allow you to separate them. And with the fascia completely unhooked now, we can go ahead and set it off to the side. We can get our bumper beam removed now. And on the passenger side, we have a total of 4 13mm head bolts, 2 up top, 2 on the bottom. Driver side is the same, with the exception you're only going to have 3. Go ahead and pull these out. I got the other side bolts removed already, so I'm just applying a little bit of pressure to the beam so they don't fall off here. And you kind of just lift up a little bit and get the bumper beam removed from the back of our vehicle. How this setup is going to work is the hitch will get installed to the back of the vehicle along with the bumper beam, and the hitch will kind of be sandwiched between the bumper beam and the back head, or the bulkhead, the back of our vehicle there. And this part of our bumper beam kind of just rotate in like that there. And so this will be kind of a whole assembly that we need to get installed. Something that you can do too, you can take one of the bolts that they give you in the kit, and from the back out, you can actually thread it. All right, you can thread it all the way through. That way the bolt will come out a little ways. And you can do one on each side. That'll give you kind of somewhere to hang everything on while you're working with the rest of the hardware. I think we can manage just to hold it all up and get a couple bolts started without having to do that, but just wanted to mention it in case you're struggling or concerned about being able to get them going without having any help. The hardware that we will be using though to secure the hitch will be the same for all of our attachment points. You have this bolt, you want to put on a split lock washer and then a flat washer. So we'll get this in place, see if I can't manage to do this here. Get it lined up. Take one of our fasteners. And I'm just going to get one started on each side, hand tight. That way everything will be supported while we work on the rest of them. once all the hardware is in place and hand tight, you can make sure that everything is centered. And so what I did, I just, eyeballed it and then took a measurement from the edge of our hitch here to this edge and just made sure that they were the same on each side, because you can slide the hitch over back and forth a little bit. So that ensured that it's centered where I want it. And we'll come back with our 13 millimeter and snug everything down. When I do this too, I like to kind of make an X pattern just to help draw everything in evenly. You're going to make sure now and come back with a torque wrench and completely tighten down all of the hardware to the amount specified in your instructions. We can grab our fascia now, and we are going to have to cut a small opening out. That way the receiver tube and everything can kind of pass through. There's a diagram and instructions you can follow. So I marked that out. And just take your time with this. I'm going to use a multi-tool to cut this out, but Dremel tool work, maybe a heavy-duty pair of snips, something along those lines. Got this little piece trimmed out. That's how it turned out. And one thing you can do too, if you have some rough edges, you can come back with a razor knife or a piece of sandpaper or file, something like that, and kind of clean up some of those burrs that may be left behind. Get our fascia reinstalled now. Don't forget to plug it back in. And what I found with the trick to this is you want to take the bottom and kind of get that going first around the hitch, push it back, and then kind of hold it there while you start to kind of lift up and work everything back in place. So I kind of put the bottom on, lift up, rolled, and the fascia will go back into position. So I'll just make sure everything's lined up and looking good. And we'll re-secure this the opposite way that we removed it. If I run into any issues or anything along those lines, we'll touch base on them then. I was able to get everything all put back together, didn't have to make any changes or modifications or anything along those lines. So with that done, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2017 Volkswagen Golf Alltrack.